Hello and welcome to our digital broadcast where we focus on Omicron. I'm Sneha Mordani. First, let's take a look at the number of cases in the country right now as we speak. 161 cases in India. The maximum number of cases being reported from the state of Maharashtra, it stands at 48. Telangana has 20 cases, increasing cases in Delhi at 22. Chandigarh has 1 case. We have West Bengal at 1, Andhra at 1, Tamil Nadu also at 1. Kerala has 11 cases. Karnataka has 14 and Rajasthan has 17 cases. The Government of India sources indicate that most cases are mild today. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has told Parliament about the government's preparedness vis-a-vis the Omicron cases.
वर्तमान समय में 161 केस पाया गया है और जैसा केस दुनिया में दिखने लगा तो तुरंत ही देश में वेरिएंट स्प्रेड ना हो उसकी सुरक्षा के लिए भी भारत सरकार की ओर से सतर्कता रखी गई। आने वाले दिनों में देश में कोविड क्राइसिस बढ़े और केस बढ़े तो उसके लिए भी प्रिपेयरनेस हमने पहले से करके रखी है। उसकी तैयारी के भाग स्वरूप हमने सारी व्यवस्था देश में कैसे की जाए और इसलिए हमने कोविड पैकेज 2 डिक्लेयर किया। 23,000 करोड़ रुपीस का पैकेज 2 के माध्यम से ये पैसे सभी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को दिया है और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट उसको क्या करेंगे। स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ये पैसे के माध्यम से अपने डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल में बेड बनाएंगे। शायद बच्चों में इफेक्ट हो तो बच्चों के लिए भी सेपरेट बेड बनाया जाए, उसके लिए आईसीयू केयर यूनिट बनाया जाए, बच्चों के लिए और डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्लेस पर वेंटिलेटर की व्यवस्था की जाए और उसमें से हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में 1 करोड़ रुपया का बफर स्टॉक किया जाए। उसमें सारी व्यवस्था डिस्ट्रिक्ट और ब्लॉक लेवल पर तैयार हो जाए जैसे कि भविष्य में केस बढ़े तो भी हमें चिंता ना रहे तो भी हम उसका मैनेजमेंट कर सके। कोविड केस रिपोर्ट करने के लिए और ज़्यादा टेस्टिंग करने के लिए जीनोम सीक्वेंसेस बढ़ाने के लिए 38 लैब आज काम कर रही है। पर मंथ 30,000 जीनोम सीक्वेंसेस की कैपेसिटी आज देश ने हासिल कर ली है। दुनिया जैसे जीनोम सीक्वेंसेस करती है ऐसा ही हम टाइमली जीनोम सीक्वेंसेस कर रहे हैं। ये वेरिएंट इंडिया में हमारी वैक्सीन उसके ऊपर इफेक्ट कर रही है कि नहीं कर रही है, ये चेक करने के लिए कल्चर डेवलप करना होता है और कल्चर वेरिएंट ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट का कल्चर डेवलप करके उसके ऊपर क्या इफेक्ट हो रही है हमारी वैक्सीन की उसका भी स्टडी हो रहा है।
Alright, the government on its own has said that 14 lakh cases can be expected in a day, in every single day, if things continue the way they're continuing right now. What about projections? What can one expect in days and weeks to come? Joining me are now National COVID Supermodel Head, Professor Vidya Sagar. He's also Professor at IIT Hyderabad. Thank you for your time. Scientist again making mathematical projections for many weeks and months together is Professor Manindra Agarwal. Thank you again. Professor Vidya Sagar, do give our viewers an idea about what to expect when it comes to Omicron. When will cases start to increase? And what's the maximum that we can see? The government in its own estimation has said expect up to 14 lakh cases a day.
Sorry, what number did the government say?
Expect up to 14 lakh cases a day is what the government of India has said.
No, that's not, I don't believe that's what Dr. Paul said. I think what he was talking about was he took the cases in the UK and extrapolated them to India.
Okay.
And said that if we had as many cases as the UK did per capita, it would be like having 14 lakh cases per day in India. So that's not what you said is not correct.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that because I don't want people to get unnecessarily alarmed. So Professor Agrawal and I, and there is another person, Lieutenant General Madhuri Kanitkar, we are sort of the Sutra modeling team. And see, the key to making projections about the impact of Omicron is to understand two factors, both of which are unknown at this point in time. First one is To what extent does prior exposure to the Delta variant give you protection against the Omicron variant? So if whenever there's a reduction, you would call it natural immunity escape. Now, what is that factor? We don't know. We have to wait for data. Second unknown is if you have been vaccinated already, what is the extent to which that vaccination will give you protection against the Omicron variant?
Okay.
So since both of these are unknowns, all that we can do is to make projections and not predictions, if you see the distinction I'm making.
Okay.
So what we have done is we have postulated various possible scenarios, okay? So in the case of vaccine escape, we looked at three scenarios. First scenario is you are fully protected against Omicron to the same extent as you are against the Delta variant. Second is you are 50% loss in vaccine protection.
Okay.
And third scenario, most pessimistic, you are completely vulnerable. You have lost all your vaccine-based protection. Okay. And similarly, in terms of the natural immunity escape, we have taken various possible rates at which the natural immunity erodes. And those are numbers that Professor Agarwal can explain. But anyway, the point is that in the most pessimistic scenario, which is you have totally lost any vaccine protection, and the natural immunity due to prior exposure to Delta is eroding very quickly, we foresee a peak of something like 1.5 to 1.8 lakh cases per day happening somewhere towards the end of February.
Okay. Okay. Professor Manindra Agrawal, you'd like to come in and tell us what the findings essentially are, the kind of projections that you all have made essentially as to the maximum number of cases that you can see, and when are we going to start to see a real increase in cases, because right now it's at a level where, you know, the layman will not even understand that from 0.17% to 0.20%, that's how the positivity rate in Delhi is increased. But what does it mean when it comes to the actual number of cases in the country?
Yeah, so as Professor Sagar said, it is all a lot of conjectures right now that we can make. We really have no hard data from India. The Omicron cases are increasing, but very slowly. So we are still not reached what they're called the community transmission stage, where the number of cases just blow exponentially, as you can see in many other countries. When that would happen, we can only conjecture. Also, as Professor Sagar mentioned, that since we are only doing projections based on some guesses, so one good place to make that guess from is South Africa.
Okay.
For two reasons. One, a South African population age profile is similar to Indian age profile. And two, the natural immunity level in South Africa is also similar to what is there in India. So these two properties together, I think, allow us to make a assumption that what happened in South Africa, something similar is likely to happen in India.
Okay.
And the good news from South Africa is that the cases are already peaking there. And the hospitalization there has been very low. And the likely reason for that really is that very high level of natural immunity in South Africa. So if we translate that to India, and we take, there is some certain loss of natural immunity, we assume the same, about quarter of to 1/4 of people losing their natural immunity in India as well.
Okay.
That translates to what Professor Sagar mentioned, a peak of around 1.7, 1.8 lakh cases a day. But with the associated learning from South Africa that perhaps hospitalizations will be a lot less this time. So that's one can be cautiously optimistic about this.
And, Professor Vidyasagar, if you could give us an idea about how long will this, trend of surge in cases, 1 lakh, 1.8 lakh, last essentially, how many weeks before the cases start to dip again? Is that something that you're projecting as well?
Yes. In fact, it will be a very, very sharp peak, very quick rise followed by very sharp decline. Again, as Professor Agrawal has pointed out, we can look at South Africa as a model. Now, if you remember, we all of us first heard about the Omicron variant on November 26th when Dr. Kochia from South Africa announced this variant. And already by December, let me just tell you that date. Already by December 14th,
Okay.
the number of cases had peaked in South Africa. That means that they had peaked in just under 3 weeks. And now the number of daily cases in South Africa is 33% lower than the peak. So that means a sharp drop in cases in just 1 week's time from the peak.
Okay.
And similarly, hospitalizations also, as again my colleague said, they did not rise as sharply as the number of cases. Hospitalizations grew more slowly, and the good news is already they have peaked and they have begun to drop. So if you look at the first wave and the second wave, people often don't appreciate that the number of people who were infected in the second wave was only about 20% more than in the first wave.
Okay.
About 15 lakhs in 1.5 crore in the first wave and 1.8 crore in the second wave.
All
But the
right.
point is they were concentrated very sharply. The third wave will be even more concentrated and there won't be so many people.
Okay. Last 30 seconds, Professor Manindra. This essentially, sir, would be the third wave in India, which all of you have been saying is not going to be as severe as the second wave, essentially.
Yeah, that's correct. That's for our current estimation. That's why I said we can be cautiously optimistic. Of course, once the Indian data starts coming about Omicron, we can predict more confidently. But the learnings from South Africa is what suggests this
All right.
so far.
All right. Professor Vidyasagar, Professor Manindra Agrawal, thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us what your projections are and how you've made these projections on the basis of what factors essentially that you've made these projections. The government says we are getting prepared for an upsurge. We know that cases will increase given that it has now been seen that it infects more people. In that sense, it is more transmissible and there is nothing to show it's causing more severe disease, at least for now. That's all we could pack in this edition today. Thank you so much for joining us.